until you disappeared. How much of last night's wastewater discussion did you sit in on?
Most of it, once it became clear where it was going, I didn't feel like I need to. I was just going to repeat everybody else's comments.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it came out the way I had hoped.
Okay, somebody is texting me here. Oh, that's a reminder that my wife has an appointment this morning that I've got to get her to. I'm going to have to. We have to finish this by about 10:30 because I have to uh, drive my wife for a diagnostic procedure where she can't drive back from. So I presume we'll be able to get it done by then. Let me see. Do we have Wendy yet?
No.
I do not see Wendy, but I want to get going. And I'm going to ask Anne Marie, could you record this? Oh, no, I'm sorry. I see Jen McGrail there. So this is being recorded. I'm going to call a meeting to order at 9 o'clock. I note that all the members except Wendy Howland are present. So presumably Wendy will be able to reconstruct minutes based on that, based on the recording that Jen McGrail and BCTV will put up. Um, the next item is review and approval of the minutes from May 15th. I frankly don't feel comfortable going forward with that without Wendy being online. If anybody's okay, I'm going to push that down in the agenda until she comes or table it until our next meeting.
Yeah, and
Anybody have?
did they go out to everybody? I mean, I saw them and I commented on them. I sent quite a few comments to Wendy. I don't know if anyone else saw the minutes.
I I don't know how far she circulated that. Did everybody else see the minutes?
I don't recall seeing it.
Okay, well, I guess that automatically means we table it until our next meeting.
Okay.
Um, Anne Marie, is there any public correspondence?
Marlene did send a email indicating that the Cape Cod Commission has cut $14.1 million for digital equity,
I
um, but that she didn't think it was going to impact, most likely it's not going to impact the little $75,000 mini grant that
Can
was
you
in the process. So that should be safe, but just an FYI, $14.1 million has been cut from digital equity.
I can
um,
comment on that with specificity when we hit the agenda item.
okay, that's good. Okay, moving forward to old and ongoing business, BEAD and gap funding. Um, we have the history here is that Brian last meeting submitted a draft letter to go from the select board to MBI. The gist of it is because they had not complied with our letter of support, or Comcast had not supplied with our letter of support. The letter asked that the process be paused and in various ways opened up for alternate funding mechanisms, and that's the short cliff version of it. Uh, that letter came out. I said I would edit it. I did start to edit it. I also consulted with Jed and John, and Jed had one sentence that he thought was in error, so he asked that it be deleted. And then 2 days ago, Brian submitted a longer version of the letter with some expansion on the request. And that letter is, I sent that to everyone. So everybody should have both the edited version of the letter, Brian's longer version of the letter, which incorporates pretty much all of what he had in the first version. So I didn't send that first version again, not to get too confused here.
Bob, I don't have
Yeah.
it.
I
When
didn't
did you
get the
send
second.
it?
Yeah, Bob, you didn't send it. I just sent out the latest version a few minutes ago so
Shoot.
everyone would have it.
Okay, I apologize for that. I sent that yesterday morning, and it might have been during one of my I had a number of Comcast dropouts while they were somebody was doing something in the street. I can't.
I received Brian's today, Brian. You just sent it for
Yeah,
today's
just
discussion.
sent it a couple of
I
minutes
just got
ago.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still don't have it.
Okay, let me one moment and let me resend mine that has the edited version of the first one. And
On my internet, I'm in Boston at the moment on fiber, so might be the Cape.
Right. Okay. I just downloaded it, so I do have a copy if we need to share it.
where did it go?
All right, I have the one that Brian sent.
Why won't this go? This, for whatever reason, I've sent this twice, and I'm going to resend again.
How big
Uh,
are the attachments? Are you getting restricted
not
based on outgoing
Yeah,
size?
they're very small. I got
they're
the
very
first two from Bob, and this one I just got this morning from Brian.
okay. Um, again, I've you'll see something hopefully comes through that says resending, which I had sent
Oh, here's Brian.
twice yesterday morning, and essentially because for whatever reason, Outlook, not Outlook, uh, I presume it was Comcast, but Gmail seemed to have paused. I apologize for that. So we may need to take a second to review this. While everybody is getting these up, I've got a very logistical question for Anne Marie, and this has to do with the select board scheduling. Um, Presuming one version of this letter passes and is forwarded to the select board, based on what I heard last night, it doesn't appear that there's going to be any breathing room on the agenda for several meetings. It sounded like Marlene was having to clear what she had planned for upcoming agendas in order to make room for all the work that has to be done for this notice of intent preparation and discussion.
Bob,
Is
there's
that
nothing attached to the email.
why not? What is going on?
This
Um,
underscores the need for digital
can you
equity
see,
money.
can you see the screen sharing?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So that's the letter.
Okay.
Um,
Uh,
uh, yes, you are correct, Bob. What happened last night derailed pretty much almost every agenda item for until July.
That's gonna be
Pretty
an
much.
issue with timing
Pretty
wise for
much.
this.
It's pretty much done that. Derailed every agenda for July. So I honestly cannot tell you what is going to happen. We're doing some agenda setting today, I believe, for next week. We're not meeting, I don't believe we're meeting on the 10th. I think after that it's the 17th. And it's just all going to be focused on the NOI and whether or not, we're filing for the full watershed permit, reviewing that letter. That's
and
that's the focus right now.
and the
And it's a
NOI
lot.
needs to
It's a
go
lot.
in on July
By July
7th.
7th, yes.
Okay.
If that's the direction, yes. So again, we have to, create all that. That's what was requested. That's what we voted on last night to
Oh,
figure out that schedule, what the letter would look like, and the process. So nothing, and like I said, it pretty much derailed any other agendas until after July 7th at least.
Okay, so
Okay.
I have a technical question here. I've received a couple of emails from Mary Rebello regarding re-enlistment in this committee, and saying do it soon if I'm going to do it because June 7th would be the date the select board would approve or disapprove. Is that now tabled? I just want to know will the committee
No,
exist?
so those are consent agenda items. They don't take up a significant amount of time, and those are a little bit, they're easier to have those things on the agenda, like, you know, appointments to committees or reappointments. Those are things that are consent agenda items that we have on every agenda.
Those are
So
essentially rubber stamps,
they're
for lack
rubber
of a better.
stamps. All the information is in. So, um, but she should get it in ASAP if she wants it. Like she should get it in. It's on the it'll be on the June 3rd, our June 3rd meeting. So she should
Okay,
get it in today if she wants to be appointed to the SciTech committee.
right. She said June. Well, her email said June 7th, but
We're
uh,
not meeting June 7th.
okay. Okay. Because I haven't sent it in yet because I didn't really know what was going on. She says, I'm sorry, annual reappointments June 10th is what she said. But if you say it has to be done by July.
Reappointments, I know is on, I was just reviewing the draft of the agenda and reappointments there's some consent agenda items for this one. So have her get it in, and if we can get it in on this agenda, we'll get it in. If not, I mean, it probably won't be till the 17th because I don't believe we're meeting on June 10th.
Okay.
Okay, but likely we will be in with a packet of I presume dozens of other committee reappointments that have to happen at the same time before the end of the fiscal year, or the beginning of the next fiscal year, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so no discussion. There won't be any ancillary room for discussion of any other sci-tech business or anything on that. Okay, I'm just going to presume that that is correct.
Oh, I'm sorry. Were you asking me that, Bob?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, exactly. Just to be clear, there's no way we can do anything that's going to get any meaningful response back from anybody on the select board. Just first of all, I'm just looking at the attendees list, and I want to welcome Wendy, who has joined us. Wendy, apparently everybody did not have get to look at the May 15th minutes, so we have deferred that to the next meeting. And
Okay.
Jed had already sent in some comments, and John and Brian don't recall having seen those. So if you could make the edits and then recirculate that, that would be appreciated.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, did you get comments from me, Wendy?
Yes, I did.
Is it worth going over those?
Well, you tell me.
I think it'd be good for everyone to see them.
Fine. Put them up.
Okay. Let's put those up, Wendy, if you could.
I doubt it, but I bet he can.
Or Jed, if you've
Well,
got
if you
them,
can
if
put
you've
up,
got edit.
can you put up the I can walk through it if you can put up the document.
Well, let me see if I can get that happening. Stand by. I hate this. I don't know whether I can.
5 years ago, we would have been sitting in a room circulating these things on paper.
And that would have been much easier.
The extension of the Zoom COVID-19 pandemic rules is a blessing to every person in government from Provincetown to the Berkshires that we are all eternally grateful for, regardless of party.
Uh,
Except for those who happen to be in locations where they don't have dependable internet service.
True.
yeah. Well, you're going to have to bear with me for a minute here because this is not coming up in a big hurry, just for a change.
That looks like it's a problem. I'm going to sign in a second time from my laptop and I can put them up.
Come on, damn it. Ah, this is going to drive me to drink. Can't find it.
Yeah, I
Hang
have
on,
it open if you want me to share it.
Yes, that would be much more efficient at this point.
Okay. Let's see. It's this one, I think. Okay.
I know I sent this out to everybody, but yeah, what the
I
hell?
got it through Bob, but anyway, my comments were all in for here. So for AI, the MBI meeting, I just wanted to note that Bob and I were also there.
Okay.
All right. On 4AIB comment, this is the one, it starts Comcast would not commit at any timetable locations 2 gig by 200, no commitment on exceeding small number of locations. So my comment was that Comcast did commit to a timetable. They said that they would cover the 1,400 locations by the end of next year. They also committed to upgrading the whole town to DOCSIS 4. The speeds were the minimum. So they said they would exceed 2 gig 200. They were just going to guarantee that they would at least get to that point. They also said they would exceed the 1,400 locations. They said they fully expected to do more than the 1,400. So those are my comments on that one.
Okay, can you resend your comments to me again, please?
Sure. Yeah, I will. Absolutely. I'll resend this email. For AIC, the main one here was about this does not go across the canal. But my comment there was actually the whole network in town does go across the canal to Bournedale. It's unknown exactly how they break up the town and how each section makes its way there, but
Mhm.
that was the one comment I made. It all goes across the canal to Bournedale. Now, I think the comment here may have been more related to what gets upgraded when they do the 1,400. We don't know.
Mike,
We
well,
don't know how
Mike,
the network.
yeah, my phone's ringing. Um, my question here is, once again, how much of a how deep in the weeds do we have to get for purposes of minutes taking?
Totally.
I mean, how deep for all those
I
procedural
could see,
and
yeah, I
technical
could see
details
deleting
are
C.
necessary?
I can see deleting item C completely. I don't know that it adds anything.
Well, I'd edit it because it's just unclear.
Okay. Well, that was the one thing then that was unclear. The network does the whole this does not go across the canal or Sagamore. You just delete that.
Yeah, that line just doesn't add anything, and
Yeah, that doesn't add anything. Yeah.
trying to
Okay.
fix it's not worth the effort there because that doesn't create any more clarity. So yeah, I just say
Just
just
for everybody's benefit, the gist, and Jed, correct me if I'm wrong, the gist of the meeting, or Anne Marie, was that with regard to the service to be provided under the GAP grant, either the original, I guess it was GAP 2 grant for the 16 locations, or the small number, plus the extra add-on, the supplement that's being put in to feed the 1,400 plus locations. The time limit on that is the end of 2026, and they did commit to get to a minimum of 2G/200 by the end of 2026 for those locations. Their vice president basically said that given that they were going to pass a number of served locations to get deep into Bourne to get to these unserved locations, he said it would make I don't know if he used the word business sense, but to offer service to any passings that they went along the way. But again, their grant contractual obligation is going to be only for the 16 plus the 1400 to spend the gap money. Is that correct, Jed?
Yep, yep.
Okay.
And to be clear, they really are not making any timetable promises beyond those 1400.
Correct.
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 Okay. That's what I think Wendy was trying to get across.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I get that. I get that. But I'm just trying to clear that up. All right. In D, it says they offer 1.8 in other areas. They don't. So Comcast is only deploying the 1.2 gigahertz full duplex. They don't offer 1.8.
I meant to communicate that was not in Bourne, but in
No, nowhere.
other their business areas, like around the
No.
state or elsewhere.
Nowhere in the world.
Nowhere in the
doing
world.
in fact,
Okay.
nobody's doing 1.8 anywhere in the world.
No, there's providers doing 1.8.
Uh,
But not Comcast.
I don't think
Comcast
so. I mean,
opted to do the
I
1.2.
looked around, and Cox and Charter have publicly announced that they're not going to start doing 1.8 until next year. So I don't know who else is left.
I think
Okay,
a Canada one's actively rolling it, but
Okay.
this is not a discussion item right now. There's
Come
places
back.
to
Where
do it.
are
Let's
we?
go. Let's go back to the
All right,
we're-
D.
we're-
They offer 1.8 in other areas. No, they don't.
Okay, that's gone. I'm editing this as we go along as far as I
okay.
can.
They are
They do
offering
not
us a
offer
version.
1.8 in any other areas.
No, they're
Okay.
not. And it is full DOCSIS. We are getting full DOCSIS 4 in Bourne.
Okay.
They've committed to DOCSIS 4 to the whole town.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just a slow end of the implementation of DOCSIS 4.
Yeah, we don't know how long it's going to take. That's true.
Okay.
Okay, then in E, it says not clear about whether existing hardware is up to it. So it is. So the existing hardware will work with the upgraded deployment. And by hardware, I'm assuming you meant the modems, right? The modems that are in the home.
I was thinking the modems and the cables and the stuff that's on the poles, the works.
Oh,
The
okay. Well,
amplifiers, etc.
yeah, it looks like they're rolling out new coax, right? As Bob noted, they're using the new, I think it's RG11. It's a thicker coax.
Yeah, it is.
So that's being rolled out. The concern I think that was brought up that John brought up was, well, will all the existing modems work? Because some people own them. They will. But it also should be noted that most people don't own their modems.
Right. Okay, so what I've got here, the technology is capable, but it's not clear whether the existing cables are up to it or what.
No, they're going to have to be up to it because it won't work.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
they like this because it's backwards compatible. So you won't get the better speeds, but until they come and play with the modem.
Correct. You won't get the higher, you won't get above 2 gig upstream or 6 gig down until you get the new modem. But most people probably won't. I mean,
Again, gentlemen, how much of these technology details need to appear in our minutes
Totally.
to discuss for our complete discussion?
I would stop
Is that
after
really
the first
necessary to
sentence.
communicate that to whoever else is going to be reading these?
I think the first sentence is enough. Upgrade would require putting fiber deep into the network. Looks like they are looking at bigger cable, not fiber installations, period.
Yes.
We don't need the elsewhere.
Okay.
And then stop.
Fine. I'm good with that.
Yeah. All right. That was all I had.
Okay. John, are you able to look through the rest of the minutes, or do you want more time and we'll defer this voting?
I'm okay. If Jed's
You're
okay,
okay.
I'm okay with it.
Okay.
Can I'm sorry to do this to you, but Can you go back to B and tell me what you think that ought to say?
B, are we, B as in boy?
Yeah, Comcast would not commit to timetable, but they are.
Well, would commit the timetable only for 1,400 locations covered under feed and gap grant. Is that what we would say it is, or gap grant?
I don't know. Give me
I would say
dictation for this because
Yeah.
I'm not following you.
I would say something like Comcast would not to commit to any timetable beyond that specified in
In the gap.
completing their gap funded grant.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you. Wasn't that easier?
And then get rid of the rest.
Fine. That was their original gap application.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Anything else that needs fixing here?
Yeah, just one quick typo. McCollum is COLLEM.
Oh, okay. I looked it up on the website, so I thought that was the way they spelled it. Okay. And you said that Bob and who else was there? Bob
Jed and Bob attended.
and yeah, well, I knew that, but okay, all right.
And Bob and Jed representing the SciTech.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, it looks like we're going to get these approved after all.
One moment. The other attendee was Anne Marie. Okay, I don't see Anne Marie listed there.
Okay.
Oh, and I was going to send you the names of the two representatives from Comcast, and I will look that up. I have to dig through emails, but if everybody will approve this and accept a minor modification later on to add those two names as far as we can remember them. Okay, is
Okay.
everybody okay with
Anything
these
else?
changes?
Right. So
Any
I
other
just wanted to clarify one thing, and because I didn't touch on this in the last meeting, or it was unclear to me. They made these commitments. Has anything been issued in writing, or is this included in their grant application? In other words, words to the effect, so that we have something in writing that proves that they made this commitment.
We have seen nothing. Anne Marie, has MJ seen anything from
What
uh,
what are you asking?
Well, with regards to this meeting, they apparently the regional vice presidents or whatever made some promises. And I just wanted to know whether any of this is incorporated in any written document, anything we can hold them to.
I'm not sure that if anyone took any minutes during that meeting or if it was recorded. I'm not sure about that. I don't think there was any obligation to record or create minutes or hold them to what they said. I mean,
Well,
it
I
was
do
sort of,
note that Bob and Jed were going to compose a letter summarizing our concerns for consideration at a special meeting. That would be us, date to be announced. But should I append something that says there are no other written statements from other attendees, or
I mean, I can ask if minutes were taken, but I don't believe so. And I don't think
I
we would see anything in writing in with respect to like a formal letter of like this is what we're going to do. I don't
my suspicion, and this is purely my inference from the way they were talking, is that we will not see anything until a final contract with numbers is let for the gap funding. And it remains to be seen whether extensions beyond that will be discussed in that actual contract. But I don't think MBI will memorialize anything before that. What we see in front of us may be the only notes that exist. And again, this is Wendy transcribing what Jed and I said, and perhaps Anne Marie for that meeting. The I don't see any other way to get documentation out of them from that meeting.
But you say this would be this technical specifics would be covered in the MBI contract when and if it is
Right.
issued?
I would guess, Brian, you've looked at these things before. They're fairly reasonably specific. I don't see any other way that they would specify that beforehand, because they've got to put to draw this contract and get the funding, they've got to put numbers down on paper as to what their commitment is and what the state's or the Fed contribution to this whole thing is.
The thing on paper is the grant application, because what they've discussed in this meeting is no different than what's in the grant application.
Okay.
Which means that basically, in legal terms, we're guaranteed that these 1,400 locations will be covered.
By
But-
2 gig 200, that's all it says in the paperwork. So
Well,
that's all they're committed to. Doesn't say anything with DOSIS, doesn't say anything with TAC. It's just 2 gig
Okay.
200.
Right. But it says those 1,400 locations. So admittedly, with this,
Sorry. To be precise, it says the 16 it says the 4 locations in the grant. And so this add-on isn't in writing anywhere.
Oh, so technically, you're saying that if MBI grants the funding to Comcast, they'd only have to fulfill 4 locations?
So
Well-
the grant app, it says 4. This add-on though would be added to the contract somehow, but we're not going to see this contract before
Right.
it's executed and it's too late.
That's
Right,
the
in the
point I
meeting-
was.
Okay,
In
so
the
in
meeting,
terms,
MBI said they were going to modify the contract to add the extra locations.
okay, so what I'm looking at is up under B, Comcast would not commit to any timetable or terms beyond what appears in their original gap application. Does that cover that?
Sure.
Good.
Yeah. Period.
Okay, so now what have we got down below about the locations that are eligible and back on the list and 3 categories and all that other foo-foo? Does any of that need rewriting?
Which one?
It says if new locations are gap eligible and are put back on the list, they should be able to service them. There are 3 categories. 1,800 locations that should be moved back to BEAD, 1,600 original gap locations, some of which are being picked up by Open Cape, BSLs which are eligible, but they assert they are not. If we recommend the select board reject this offer, since it's the same gap application, those locations should be referred back to MBI for direct negotiation under BEAD.
This is important, but it's messy. So we need
Yes,
to
it
clean
is.
this one
That's
up.
why I'm asking. Is it necessary to have this much detail here?
We discussed it, and I think it's important because that's actually the lead in to Brian's letters, is more or less.
Okay.
Is that right,
So-
Brian?
Yeah. I'm
So
just
is
trying to
that
figure out the
terminology
easiest.
okay?
I
We're-
almost feel like the first sentence just goes and it works better. It's edit from there. Because the first sentence I think is the most confusing. I'm not sure what were you trying to capture from the meeting?
Well, what I wrote down originally was if new locations are gap eligible and are put back on the eligibility list, they should be able to service them.
Oh, okay. So I think we got the programs backwards in that
Okay,
recording there. So
help me out.
I can clarify a little bit on that first sentence and the discussion we had. Remember the first gap, there were 16 eligible locations that were listed on the gap grant. They chose for whatever reason to serve only 4. We disputed that some of the other 12 may in fact have been eligible when they listed them as ineligible. So if um, uh, instead of new locations, if the 12 disqualified locations are determined to be gap eligible and are put back on the list, comma, Comcast should be able to service them. Does
Okay.
that make sense to everybody?
No,
To Jed?
not to me. So if you dictate
Okay.
me something that this would say, I actually have mine up on the screen now. I can share it. I was looking for Jed's thing to share, which is not what I wanted to share.
All
But I
right, I'll
can
stop. You can put
I-
yours up.
okay, let's
The
try.
16 are all eligible. It's Comcast saying they're not. And so the list is still 16. They're just saying they're only going to do 4 of them. And it's Comcast saying 12 is not eligible.
Well, the gist
But
of it was
Okay, are you seeing that now?
Yes.
Good. All right, we are here under F. All right, now tell me what to put in here.
Jed, help me out with the discussion. Again, we had a discussion with them about the fact that they had only, of the 16 that were listed as gap eligible, they had only
1600
proposed
or 16?
1.6. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the anchor institutions.
no, so
No.
the under and unserved or
Oh,
unserved.
the under unser, right? Yes.
Okay. So
Okay.
They were put back in, weren't they, Bob? So they explained that originally it was 4, Comcast challenged the 12, but MBI in their final report have 16 in the final report.
But didn't Baldino call some of them huts?
I don't know.
he
That's a slang for a non-eligible location. Even though I checked every single of the 12 of them, and they're all houses with people that live there.
Yeah, I thought it was left kind of up in the air and that we were offered the opportunity to, I guess, go back and look at the list or something. I wasn't.
The way I think I worded it was that we reserve the right to do a detailed review of the of any of the 12 that they did not put back on the list with MBI's technical staff, basically with Cornell.
And those are CAIs?
No,
No.
these are all
ESLs.
incorrectly flagged unserved. So they're all houses, but because some are on Bassett's, so they're like, oh, no one can live there. Well, plot twist.
Yeah, they do.
We're an ocean
Okay.
community. Those are houses.
Okay,
And
now look at this. What do you want me to say where the cursor is? Plain English, easy to communicate to somebody who doesn't understand the weeds.
great question.
Well, that's why you have me.
Okay.
Well, are we still talking about the meeting? Are these the minutes that we were, or are these minutes
Yes,
of your,
this is all related
This is
to
all
the
from the
meeting.
meeting,
the MBI meeting?
the MBI meeting.
See up here?
All right, so they didn't say if new locations are gap eligible and are put back on this list, they should be able to service them.
These are the
Somebody said
minutes
it.
of our meeting discussing the meeting with MBI.
That's what I'm asking.
That's what.
Ma-
Is F from the
Yeah.
MBI meeting?
No, from
Or
our
is
meeting.
F from the SciTech meeting talking
No,
about
this is the MBI
MBI?
meeting.
No.
No.
This is not, we took no minutes at the MBI meeting. What this is the discussion in a SciTech meeting of what occurred at the MBI meeting.
So
This is
This
in
when did
is-
they
session.
talk about? Okay.
This is Bob, Jed, and Anne Marie relating back to the rest of you on the 15th, what our takeaways from that meeting was. Okay, so this is our attempt to communicate to the rest of you to memorialize what went on at that meeting. Jed, is that a correct summary of what we're doing, what we did?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Um,
So
Okay,
F
okay.
F was not a part. F was not a part of that discussion.
Right.
F
I
was
think if
a
you
part
just,
of our discussion, but maybe not with MBI, not with Comcast, but the SciTech was definitely
All
discussing
right, so it needs to
categories.
go in a different spot then.
Okay, what I just added up here
Fair.
is that Citek's takeaways and conclusions from this meeting are as follows.
so
Yes,
Wonderful.
my proposal for item F is to just keep the first sentence and that's it.
I'm good with that. You sure that's all you need?
I think the rest of it's a different concept. Maybe just make the rest of it another bullet because it's and maybe just start a new section discussion, basically what to do about what we heard.
Well, okay.
Yeah, instead of II being the letter we drafted, make II um, uh,
Gee,
post meetings, post MBI meetings, SciTech discussions and comments, or something like that.
Okay, because what I did do, I put that up here because it looks like all of this is what you were reporting back from it.
Everything above is correct. That was we are reporting back. It's the anchor institution discussion there that is
Yeah.
a little out of place.
Okay, and where would you like it?
What I was suggesting is make that below what is now G, make that II anchor just say SciTech discussion of anchor institutions. Oh,
What, like down here?
yes.
yeah.
Okay. So I make this go away up here. How's that?
Uh,
Don't know what that is. We're gonna make this part in red go away entirely, or you want to put it somewhere else?
um,
I think we got to clean it up. It's just trying to figure out how to organize this so it makes sense.
That's precisely my point.
Okay, we're almost 45 minutes into just the minutes.
Uh-huh.
right.
I would
Well,
make a suggestion that that if you have additional edits to send them and we're just not ready, clearly we're not ready to
Yeah.
vote on these.
Yeah,
yeah,
I guess that's what we have to do is maybe everyone grabs the paragraph and fixes it
Yeah.
until we get
um,
this right.
Oh, and just a comment in terms of clarity here, and we'll work with at least I'll work with Wendy to try to
Mhm.
clean this up. Is that again we have as of last week or the other day we have a new select board chair, Melissa, and we need to have this clear enough so that she can read this without having to go and listen to the our discussion at the meeting off of. Bourne TV, because at that point she is going to have to, if we vote on it, bring this letter forward, the one that we're going to discuss next, to the full committee and have some understanding of it before she makes a decision on how and where to post this on a future agenda, how and
Right.
when to post this.
Yeah, I think maybe some of us should take some time, rewatch that section and clear it up so that it's crystal clear.
Right.
I'm all for that. But I mean, you can understand how it comes out like this when we have these kinds of discussions that sort of wander all over the yard.
Mm, fair,
Well,
fair.
exactly, and I don't want her, especially, to get lost in the weeds.
Right.
Have to bother Anne Marie. By the way, Anne Marie, I got a note from Melissa yesterday. She says, set a time up for at least between me and her to talk for coffee about both this and wastewater management plan, et cetera. Notices of intent. So just
Okay.
to let you know that I will probably be sitting down with her
Okay.
And she's treading water right now, as she
Sure.
said,
Yeah.
as you can imagine.
Okay.
Okay, so we're going to table further discussion on this. Wendy, you and I are going to sit down and wade our way through this. I'm going to rewatch the recording of our meeting, and
Was
we
there what?
will say again.
The meeting with MBI was recorded, you say?
No, 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 no.
Oh,
Our
this
May
meeting.
15th meeting, yes, to make sure that again, at least we memorialize how we discussed it, and to frankly refresh my brain from
Uh,
now 2 weeks ago.
This stuff's
okay.
hard, so this is fair. That might take a little longer. You should do it offline and
Yep.
work
Okay.
on
Yeah.
it.
And
Then.
again, I'm not comfortable bringing this forward to the letter that we're going to talk about now, forward to the select board until I can concisely explain the issues to Melissa to bring it forward.
I'm
And
with you.
Anne Marie and MJ will chime in on this too. And Jed, of course, can be part of this. But again, what Comcast committed to, and what by the end of 2026, and what they said that, well, we're going to do this afterwards as they progress with this installation. Again, that was unclear, and I want to make sure that Melissa knows that, and that well, anyway, we'll discuss that as we go forward. Um, uh, Before we go forward with this letter, I just want to look at anything else on the agenda. I'm going to skip forward, if I may, just to see if we can clear anything away that um, isn't that might
Necessary.
that might be
And
urgent
I
to
can wipe
get to.
out the digital equity grant thing in one sentence.
Yeah, go ahead.
Our money for Bourne is safe. Other towns, future applicants, future programs, but we are the money we already applied for is safe. It's from another bucket. Nothing to worry about. Can move on and don't even have to worry or stress about that.
Okay.
Okay.
That
So
was
limited
easy.
to Bourne. Been verbal. That's okay. Got it in writing. It's okay. We're fine. Don't worry about that one. That bucket's
Okay.
safe.
We're good. About the American Connection Corps, yesterday brought more
Hi, Kevin.
destruction out of DC. They are
I'm doing
basically
well,
canning
thanks.
AmeriCorps. They're firing everybody.
The one piece of information I did learn is that the Barnstable County government has committed to basically funding and keeping in place the the AmeriCorps staff that are on the Cape to the end of their term in I think it ends at the end of July. Okay, but that's going to be paid out of county funds with nothing expected from the federal government, and there's no plan to right now to do any solicitation for anything after that. So the county, in terms of a host for, even if there is a connection core position available, the county is not going to be in a position to host that. So my suggestion is we table that until we see something that revives on the whole process. I have not tried to contact the fellow's name. Brian is had in my notes, Scott McFarland in Iowa. I have not tried to contact him because I'm sure he's got other things that he's worried about, if he is even in a position anymore.
And Mass's money was usually funded by a donation from Comcast. So potentially, if they continue their generosity, um, might we might have some options.
Okay, the question then is, where can that person be hosted? And again, the infrastructure for maintaining them in under the AmeriCorps system in Barnstable County is going to disappear. That's what I was told. So we need a place to host them. And if it isn't county government, can it be the town government? So anyway, think of opportunities for that. I don't want to go into great detail. In terms of um just the regional approach to broadband, Brian, you had discussions with the Tech Council and also with a representative from the town of Barnstable. Can you just relay that?
Yeah, Barnstable has started a committee to deal with energy infrastructure telecom, and so they're still very early in making connections, knowing what they're supposed to know, trying to figure out who they're supposed to be talking to. And so had a quick 15-minute discussion. Basically said the needle moving thing from his point of view right now is going to be uh, connect with Verizon to see if they are executing on their gap grant, because if they're not, he has a very limited, very narrow opportunity to negotiate those locations under BEAD with MBI under round two. So, if they're defaulting, which they've done in some towns, they've walked
Okay.
away from the money.
This
Move
is
quick.
Mr. Ruggiero. Is that his name?
I will check my email.
Okay, doesn't matter, but
I'm sorry,
uh,
is this Cape Cod Tech Council or Mass Broadband?
This one is a communication with other towns. I was on the Cape Cod Tech Council call, and someone told the Barnstable person, Ron Ruggiero, to contact me
okay.
for information sharing. He said a couple of people said I can share plenty of info for their purposes.
Okay. So that was there anything else of interest on the Tech Council? Because I missed that. I had a conflict.
Um, a lot of people were asking the Cape Cod Commission about the digital equity. Since they had been notified, a few people were money was at risk. But I've gotten us an answer for Bourne's already.
Okay.
Um,
Nothing
that
on
was
the
most of the
broadband.
that was
I'm
most
sorry.
of the discussion.
Okay.
And then
I want to.
that was most of the discussion relevant to us.
Okay. Nothing on the broadband coalition that I know of. Nothing from the Wampanoag tribe. Um, the the fiber service to the cell tower plan has been refiled, and the objections keep coming in from members of the golf club. So
I'll note that there's a meeting Monday. It's another. I think it's just one of these um, pro forma meetings, because they said that there's going to be no testimony and no review. So they're probably just reinitializing the time frame on the initial on the new filing.
I'm sorry, who's holding this meeting?
Cape Cod.
Sorry, the Cape Cod Commission is holding a meeting on Monday on the monopole. Uh, and it says on the website they're not taking any testimony and there'll be no hearing.
That reminds me of the one they had before, where they formally had to have a meeting saying the clock was starting. So it was like a 5-minute call.
Yeah, I think they're just resetting the clock. That's what I'm speculating here.
Okay. Well, I'm going to leave that for the being. I don't think we have any major input. The anything new on pole attachment at all?
Haven't heard anything.
Okay. Um, let's move forward. Um, I presume Comcast is moving forward, Mike Gallo with the TV equipment, and I the BCTV board is anytime they've seen an opportunity to push Comcast, they've come to me, and they haven't contacted me, and I haven't heard anything from Jen, so I'm presuming that is moving forward. The other item there is the possible annual review meeting with Comcast. That was tabled by the select board. Actually, it was tabled by the town council because of the risk of if we were in some kind of a grant disagreement, there might be litigation. After the equipment is installed, I will again bring up the idea of holding an annual review meeting with Comcast. So I will check with Jen to see what the schedule there is. I believe the holdup is that they needed to install fiber to the high school to make those connections. So we'll see where that goes. I have not heard anything more recently. Um, Brian, would you like to go through the open meeting non-compliance with the Mass Tech Board? The crucial question here is how does this affect us, and what can is there anything we can do for meetings that have already occurred where we have not been able to put in our input on it during it? If this is water over the dam, and they're supposedly going to clean up their act, is there anything else we need to do here? I guess is a short question to you.
Hard to say, since some of the issues with their board meetings is access, which they've already agreed that they'll start posting the link publicly instead of email for access, which failed frequently. The more concerning issue from our point of view is it appears they may engage in serial discussions offline and then consolidate board members' testimony and have the like a rubber stamp at the meeting. So potentially it's if that is a frequent item, potentially some of the items that impacted Bourne happened that way.
Okay, that's quite a bit more serious, and I think I know that there have been within Bourne town government, there have been that issue in the past, and Bourne's been fastidious in making sure that serial discussion does not occur among us or any other boards. So I think we're probably, my opinion is that we're in the right to continue to object to possible serial discussion, even if it draws the length of their meetings out. Anne Marie, do you recall that? I think it was the planning board that had a bunch of complaints by somebody about serial discussion.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Anyway, if serial discussion about us is happening, and a quick summary happens at a meeting, then I think we have the right to object to that. But Brian, where do you suggest we go forward with this?
I will see what happens with the existing complaint from the public, but we might need to look at several minutes of previous meetings, and because it's quite difficult to figure out from the agenda what was this, so we probably need to comb through the minutes to see which meetings discussions might have occurred, and this might take a little bit more effort to figure this out, since it's and possibly pass the window to object on some of them. So we'll have to take a look at this carefully.
My personal bigger concern here is that we really don't hold a whole lot of cards in terms of dealing with MBI. MBI has pretty wide latitude to do whatever they think is best, and in terms of handing out grants, handing out non-competitive grants, et cetera, et cetera. So trying to get something that's happened already reversed because of an open meeting law violation, for instance, I think is really not going to be productive. It's never going to get us what we want. We can complain about it after the fact, but that's about all we can do.
You cut out for about 30 seconds there, so I don't know if it was me or you, but I missed the
No,
first 30 seconds.
Bob, could you summarize this a little bit? I'm getting lost on which meeting may have violated an open meeting law.
Brian, why don't you go ahead and summarize that? The meeting was in February.
I believe it was March. I'd have to go look, but it wasn't apparent there was a violation until the meeting minutes came out, and it shows the CEO meeting with all 17 board members one-on-one, consolidating the content of those one-on-one meetings and presenting it to the full board.
Okay, so right, so it's not this committee. It was another committee. It was the tech council, basically.
It's
No, this
the
is MBI's
technology
board.
Mass Tech
Oh,
board.
oh,
Right.
okay. Oh, the Mass Tech
Okay.
board. Oh, okay, now I get because I was getting
Yeah.
lost. Three committees.
Bob, if I may, what value is it, and how does it? Like, I'll come back. I'll revert back to what the charge is of the committee, and how does this fit into the charge pursuing this?
That's um that's my question too, is getting into the weeds of how the Mass Tech board operates and gives grants. Um, how are we going to, by pointing out that they're doing their open meeting violations, how is that going to change what Bourne gets for grants via Comcast, via Bead, or anything else? And that's my big question. We can get into the weeds of their operations and really not change anything of how they operate,
But that's
and how
not
that
part of our
affects Bourne.
charge.
Right. Does it have
Uh,
anything to do with us? I mean,
There's
really,
nothing to do with our charge.
we
So
obey the open meeting law in this committee very carefully. So
the
But if
problem
it
with
does, but
MBI
if
has always
something that they
been
do does affect how Bourne's infrastructure, which is part of our charge, is affected, wouldn't it be useful for us to know that?
so it comes down to information gathering. So our primary
Yes.
function is to gather information. One of the key issues we run into with MBI is information coming late, or a little too late for us to be able to distill it, get it to our select board decision makers, get on an agenda and have them make a decision. And so oftentimes trying to figure out how to get information out of MBI earlier has been a focus so that we have a shot at passing the relevant information up. So the MBI typically doesn't reveal a lot. So going through the public records channel to get documents has been helpful. Attending board meetings to figure out what's going to happen before they announce it has been helpful. So this is mostly for the purposes of speeding up the information gathering process, which has been a known bottleneck for years.
Again, I think this is something we track. We try to get as much information as we can out of them. Trying to change their modus operandi, I think, is wasted effort. Um, we can complain all we want. I don't think we're going to have we as the town of Bourne or advisors to the town of Bourne are going to make any difference to how Mass Tech operates. That's my personal opinion. I'm going to leave it at that for now. If anybody is interested, Brian, if I may, you had taken detailed notes about the open meeting violation. I will circulate that to everyone. I have not done so already, just to see the really way down in the weeds what this looks like. Is that okay with everybody? And if we have to bring this up again, we will. But I just don't see a productive effort from our committee to do anything here. Is that
No.
okay with everybody?
Yes.
Okay. Hearing now, I'll send it around anyway. Again, I want to talk quickly about anything great on One Touch Make Ready legislation. Anything new, any committee hearings or anything, Brian?
We unfortunately missed the hearing. Open Cape went and testified, so I'm a little surprised no one had told anybody a hearing was coming on that. So I don't really know the outcome of the hearing,
Well,
but it was a few weeks ago. So yeah, I think we'll have to maybe talk to Open Cape to see how it went, and then possibly see if we can get a copy of the tape testimony or the minutes.
How
okay.
come, how did we miss that? Did they not notify people, or?
It's just like any other bill. There's so many of them, and usually only if somebody who understands what's going on reaches out to everybody, saying, "Hey, there's a hearing." Typically, a legislative aide or whatever will email a bunch of people.
The only people who track this religiously are going to be people who are effectively lobbyists for, for companies, for trade associations, for NGOs, et cetera. And that's their job, is to watch these calendars, and that's not us. Okay, I'm going to move forward. I want to go forward with Brian's original and revised draft letter. Um, First of all, what I want to do is see if I can talk to Melissa and probably MJ, and just see whether when they may be amenable to putting this on an agenda item, because I think we need another meeting to discuss this letter, both the content and exactly how we present it to the select board, and whether how they approach MBI with this. Um, is everybody okay with not finalizing this right now? Because we'll get no attention from the select board immediately on it anyway. We need another meeting.
Fine
Do
with
we have
me.
any idea, I'm sorry, about what the timetable is regarding the MBI grants and or letting of contracts?
Time is of the essence. They'll move forward if we don't object.
Again,
I think
but
they're already moving forward. I mean, at the meeting, Comcast sounded like there was a sense of urgency around going ahead. They were concerned that they hadn't been given all the funding yet. So they want to make the end of the next year, and I have a feeling they wanted to get going.
they had not, again, the one thing that they have to do is this contract modification or proposal modification. They have to price what it's going to cost them to serve these extra 1,400 locations, and that's not a trivial
That's
engineering
true.
job.
Yeah.
And then they need to see what what the split between what the money they want from MBI, how much they can get from MBI, and what their company contribution is.
Mhm.
So they're working on that. But in the meantime, again, the big uh, hurdle here is again, no bandwidth within the select board to even consider this until July.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I think it behooves us to do a good job with the letter and exactly what we want to ask from the select board to ask of MBI.
I personally wouldn't want to delay it further since we deferred it last week. Like, I think we should just edit it till we're happy and submit it, even, and if we have to wait, we have to wait for the select board given the, constraints. But deferring it any longer isn't going to help anybody because this is a timely item. Clock's ticking.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and start discussion of the letter going forward. Okay.
Okay.
Let me see if I can. I'm gonna bring up Brian's long letter here, if that's okay with everyone.
Sure.
Give me 1 second.
I have it up, Bob.
Oh, okay. Okay, I'll leave it to you. Am I sharing now? Make sure I'm not. Okay, go ahead, Anne Marie, if it's up.
Uh, there we go.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And tried to incorporate all the possible ways to take this. So we need to remove lines or whatever. It is what it is.
I remember reading this before, and I thought the organization is decent. It flows from A to Z, and there's only one typo in it, and I don't see anything that necessary from an editorial standpoint. Do you guys have anything on content that I'm missing?
There's
Well,
one change we didn't know last week when we talked.
Which was?
I spoke with Steve Johnson, and he said if MBI were to enter a direct negotiation, Open Cape would accept the residential locations in Bourne. That
That's
is
called
not
hearsay. That's called hearsay. I'd
nope
like to see that in
from the
writing.
horse's mouth. Steve Johnson to me said I would take the locations if MBI were to offer them.
Okay, Brian, the crucial question there is they will take the 1,400 locations, but will they then be able to serve the rest of Bourne?
And
So
I think it's their responsibility to approach MBI. It's not our responsibility to make that connection with them
so
to pursue that.
the direct negotiation round, MBI can do whatever they want. So there's not really any rules about order. Since the locations would become probably BEAD, MBI has the obligation to approach other providers. So this is more just information sharing, saying, hey, by the way, you know, you can talk
Right, but
to Open Cape.
we don't get the whole town upgraded.
Yeah, yeah. We're not going to be in the business of negotiating
Okay,
contracts
then
between MBI
let's
and
remove the negotiate thing because that's one other headache. Just tell them, by the way, Open Cape has offered to take the locations and leave it at that.
Excuse me, Anne Marie. Wait a second. Who's not involved in negotiations? The select board,
so
the
not
town?
so this grant round. I'm just talking about the grant process,
Yeah.
right? We're not we're not we didn't apply for the grants. These are separate entities applying for the grants. We're not going to negotiate the grant monies for Open Cape and MBI with MBI.
I understand that part. I just want to know who the pronoun we applies to.
The town of Bourne.
Thank you.
It's Emery raises a good point, and so that's probably a mistake in the way I drafted it. The difference between how the contracts would work and how the town's actually lack of involvement in the negotiations. So it's a fair point. I think we should edit it to say we ask MBI to initiate discussions with other providers. Remove the word town in negotiate. So that we ask an MBI to initiate discussions with other providers capable of deploying future-proof technology, whether under BEAD or GAP, or GAP or BEAD, and remove us being involved in negotiations because we really don't need to be involved in negotiation. We're just saying we are ending our interest in Comcast using the GAP funds.
Okay.
Who has a document open there that can edit it?
It's Anne Marie.
Maybe Wendy should open the document because she will edit it on the spot.
Okay, where is it?
And then,
Somebody want to send it to me?
oh, you don't have it? Oh,
Let's see.
Bob just sent it this morning, didn't he? And so did Brian.
Brian sent it. Take a look at
You
your.
rely on Brian's.
Okay, I haven't had a chance to look at my email yet. Let me see if I can find that. What time did you send that, dear?
8:55 a.m. or something.
You got something. I've got Bob's here. Oh, here we are.
Don't.
Here we are. I got it. Okay. Open up. Yeah. Come on, open. Open up.
I'll be back in 2 seconds. I have to find a charger. Okay.
I'm waiting for freaking Word to open this document for me because it doesn't want to. And my computer has heard me say too many bad things about Word. So now anytime I want to open a Word document, it says, I'm going to make you wait for it. Okay, here we are. I got it. Let me see if I can put that somewhere else and hit share. Come on, open up. Okay,
Okay,
got it?
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so we're
Yeah.
taking the town. Come on. Come on. What? Okay.
How about we ask that they, instead of initiate discussions to explore negotiations, we just ask that they initiate negotiations with other providers.
Yeah, we can get rid of the discussions, just initiate, go straight to negotiations with other providers.
Yeah, up toward the front of the sentence, Wendy.
Which
We ask that MBI initiate and then eliminate discussions to explore, is what I'm trying to say.
I say. Oops.
I just want to pose a question. Would it be worth it for us to put something in there that says that should Comcast be willing to give us a guaranteed timetable of,
No,
you don't think so? In other words,
Oh,
because
I
if they
do. I
say
like that.
if we did it one
I
gig
think
up,
we,
1 gig down,
Yeah, what if they were willing to upgrade the whole town by,
right?
in 2 years?
Right, because
too,
none
too,
of
too
the
late. They had the opportunity to propose that at the meeting. At this point,
but
if we open the door for
But
continued
now,
negotiation, we'll be at this for another year.
but now we're changing what we initially said in our letter, right? Now we're adding additional, right? We said the whole town, but now we're going to add a time constraint.
That's a good
That,
point.
that wasn't the essence of the letter, that we asked them for the whole town. I don't think we can add
We
or
have
start negotiating. If you do this, then we'll not withdraw the letter. If you do that, like we either withdraw the letter or we don't.
Yeah, I think it's time we just withdraw. Like we've had enough, discussions about this. It's very clear. It's 2 gig by 200. It's not what we asked for in the letter. We just move on.
so you want to
Yeah,
bag this whole paragraph?
No, so I think the attempt of this letter is to tell MBI, do not proceed with the contract for Gap with Comcast and work with somebody else.
so up above, I have a comment on, see the words 1 gigahertz spectrum and future-proof infrastructure. So I'm proposing that we delete and future-proof infrastructure.
Sure, whatever. As long as
Okay.
it's ending this Gap saga.
Okay, how's that?
when you say future-proof infrastructure, you're basically saying it has to be fiber. Is everyone in agreement with
Well,
that?
no, what I'm saying is that the infrastructure they're rolling out is going to be good for 3 gigahertz, according to their latest announcement, and 25 gig down. So long term, it is future proof.
So then just delete the future-proof infrastructure because the problem is what they're rolling out now is 2 gig by 200. So yeah, just
Well,
drop
that's the next comment I was going to make. I would delete that sentence
What?
because what they've stated publicly is, and their DOCSIS 4, most of their DOCSIS 4 territories, they're offering 2 gig symmetric, and they're planning to go to 3 gig symmetric next year.
Okay, so we just can
Okay,
say it
so
doesn't
is
meet the
this
letter
what
of
you're
support
saying
and
here?
get rid of so it's a previous paragraph we're discussing, Wendy. So it's the
Yeah,
first
Yeah,
paragraph.
let's finish the second paragraph first before
Right.
Wendy gets real
I would
confused.
even go back to the first paragraph because as Jed has explained, and I just looked this up to be sure, 1.8 gigahertz is not technically necessary to make DOCSIS 4. You can either have that or full duplex. Is that your interpretation?
yes,
Right.
yes.
So they're
Yeah.
offering a full duplex solution, which generates what is considered by Cable Labs to be an official DOCSIS 4 implementation.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the
DOCSIS
1.8
4
part
isn't the
get rid of.
bottleneck.
Yeah.
DOCSIS 4 is the like lower. It's not even the constraint of the implementation here. Like DOCSIS 4, you can do with a lot of different things.
Well,
Okay, so what do you want this paragraph to
I would just get rid
communicate?
of the one, including the 1.8. I would just say limitations. I mean, somehow I think what we need to say is that what did we ask for originally? We specified what, 1 gig bidirectional? Is that correct?
No, we didn't. We didn't put any speeds in there.
Okay.
So we're dropping the technical gobbledygook, Wendy. So it basically says we start including the absence of spectrum, future-proof infrastructure, 2 gig, just drop below and leave it at well below the standards of our letter. And that's
No,
a
it's not
cleaner.
well below standards of our letter.
Okay,
It
so it's
isn't. It isn't. It's
below.
equivalent.
Well, I thought our letter asked for 1 gig, and they're only talking about 200 up.
No, so the letter asks for 1.8 extended spectrum, and we're getting 1.2 full duplex, which according to Cable Labs are equivalent.
Right. Okay.
Okay, so what are we trying to change here? Because I would like
I'd get
to
rid of the
I
whole,
gotta
we
put
have
to bed.
concerns regarding the technical limitation. I'd get rid of all of that all the way to the end.
This whole sentence?
Yeah.
Maybe the first half of the sentence, or we got to say somehow. Do we need to say? Okay, do we need to say why we're pulling our support? If we just drop it and pull the support, that's enough.
You have to get rid of the whole sentence, Wendy. I don't think there's anything in there. Just even get rid of the whole first paragraph.
Well, no, because you want to talk
But
with that.
if we remove the sentence, it's still the intent of the letter is still clear without going into detail, which is I think what we're trying to avoid, making this overly more complicated than it needs to be.
Okay, so this introduction is I think this sets the tone for the rest of your letter. We met with
Except
you
there are no,
guys.
but
What you're
the second
proposing
sentence is incorrect.
isn't what we said we were going to support,
Okay,
and we want you to explore somebody else.
so just drop the its technical limitations and service level sentence, and the letter still stands for the purpose of this letter, which is to withdraw, to tell MBI not to move forward. We don't really have to give a reason.
Okay.
Again, the letter's going to have, my opinion is the letter has to have enough detail so that on its own, any member of the select board who's going to vote on whether to send this to MBI or not, or how to send it, is going to be able to understand it.
See, and that's why I like leaving that sentence in there, because it says why.
Yeah, I mean, the first question is, why are we withdrawing the letter?
Mhm.
There's no reason stated here. Other than Open Cape said they have an interest.
That's what I was saying. We have to come back to the idea of, because Comcast's proposal does not represent a future-proof solution.
But
But
it does.
it? And I don't know. I mean, what did the letter ask for certain splits and other stuff, right?
The letter asked for 1.8 gigahertz extended spectrum,
Right.
and a commitment to do the whole town. And what we got was 1.2 full duplex and a commitment to do the whole town.
We got a commitment to do the grant locations, anything along the way to the grant locations, and eventually we will get to the whole town.
Yeah.
But no
that's what
commitment,
the
no
letter said.
timeline, no nothing.
So the
Okay,
letter
so
said, in
so
terms
what
of
you're
condition-
saying without that is that the proposed plan does not meet the requirements of our original support letter.
It does.
It does.
It does. Okay.
It does, because our original support letter apparently did not point out upload and download speeds. Is that correct?
Right.
Okay, so
Just
that's the
right. It said
problem.
1.8 gigahertz. And like I said, Cable Labs, the 1.2 full duplex is equivalent.
Well,
It is.
Okay, this is for the select board. They have to understand this. They're not going to care about
Right,
those things.
right.
Right, well, that's why I'm saying take it out. Just leave it the way it is.
But then they don't know why we don't like
We're
it.
doing this.
What in the
Well,
letter did they, what
that's
in the
my question
letter,
too, Wendy.
what in the letter did they not meet? We didn't ask them for a time constraint. We can't say that we can't tell them to not to, that we're withdrawing a letter because they don't meet the time constraint for doing the whole town. They
Okay.
are doing the whole town. The
So
letter never asked for that. So we can't say that's the reason. And if if the speeds are the same,
Or equivalent.
why are we withdrawing? Why are we withdrawing this letter?
That's why I'm asking.
the
What I think you have to put a sentence in there that says that. Something. It says where we these are the things we don't like, or we don't like it because
a second provider would create a situation where the competitive pressure would leave Bourne better off in the long run. And so the
But
legal
that's
grounds,
right. I get that, Brian. I absolutely agree with you about the competition, but that wasn't what we requested in the original letter.
so
We
the
didn't
letter,
request competition.
we just point at one point, like, so what we can say as far as meeting the exact wording of the letter said 1.8, this is 1.2. We can argue for years whether they're equivalent, whether they're not, what the speeds are.
is it necessary to even do that? It's okay to say, in my opinion, we have with after long deliberation, we recommend that the previous letter be withdrawn because we've learned more stuff that what does it why does it have to be
Oh.
exactly parallel to the previous letter is my question.
Because we need to argue that what we ask them to commit to, they are not doing. Not, it doesn't matter whether we have more knowledge. It doesn't matter, the argument, as Brian said, all day long about the 1.2 and the 1.8. What specifically in that letter that we submitted on their behalf to support them are they not committing to? That's
So-
the only backbone we have to stand on to go to
Okay.
MBI and say withdraw request. Otherwise, if they're meeting, and again, they're not obligated to meet them. MBI doesn't have to slam the hammer down on them and say, you don't get the money unless you do exactly what Bourne asked you to do. That was only a piece of the entire grant process. It gave them additional points, but the decision MBI made to go with Comcast wasn't contingent upon this one letter. So if we're going to withdraw, it's got to be a significant reason that they're not committing to things in that letter that we asked them to.
And
I
from what
just,
from what I can see, the only thing they're not committing to is the 1.8.
And it's not town-wide. And when
It
we wrote the
is.
letter, they said they'll get to it eventually. So it's not a commitment to do it now. We asked for town-wide now.
No, we
we
didn't.
didn't ask for
No,
now.
we
We
didn't.
never set a time. We asked them to do town-wide, period. We
I
didn't
think
commit to a timeline. We didn't ask them for a timeline.
my inference of the letter, and we did, shame on us for not specifying it specifically 2 years ago when we did this, was that we wanted them to commit to do townwide under the GAP grant, which is what the letter of support was for. It was for the GAP grant.
And 16 locations, not the 1,600.
Well, true. I agree with that, but again, to serve the 16 locations. Oh, and by the way, do it town-wide. My understanding of the NTIA rules were that the GAP grant process and the BEAD process are absolutely silent on how the companies go and upgrade other locations that are already served at a what was it, 100 down and 25 up. So we're asking for them to do that under the GAP grant process. The federal rules don't require the company to do that, or MBI to require a company to do that. So what they've said is that they would do it. Frankly, when they get around to it, they didn't specify it. They made a commitment to do that eventually, and there's no way. My understanding of the GAP rules is there's no way under the grant process that Comcast can require them to do extra beyond what they're giving the grant for.
Correct.
Okay.
So, right. So,
We're pushing the envelope here to.
right.
I'm just very very uncertain about how this is going to be received by the even the select board.
Right.
I'm having real trouble just trying to figure out how to justify it beyond the very small constraints we had put in that letter. I'm just
How
I
do
don't know.
is there no room to say, our original letter of, 2023 or whenever it was, to indicate that it was a long time ago, and then say, subsequent events or subsequent information received or something like that?
I don't see how you
No,
do
we
that. I
can't.
don't see
We
how you go
can't.
back
We
and
can't do
say,
that.
Right.
We
we're
have
going
to-
to change the rules.
Yeah,
Can
but
I
have
make-
they changed? But have they moved the goalpost to
Yeah,
use
they
another
have changed. The MBI, to be fair, has moved the goalpost here. So, like, how do we articulate that move and why what they're trying to do here is such a problem? Because these 1,600 locations were supposed to be bid under BEAD, and that's what we expected to happen under BEAD when we went about doing the challenge. And so this letter predates BEAD challenge. This letter predates these changes. And the thinking at the time was, okay, yeah, you want these 16 locations. Sure, you can have them if you upgrade the entire town to get those 16, have fun. How do we articulate now that they're only giving a small upgrade? It's not quite, and maybe going to later do the rest of it. We're gonna have to articulate how we are. We wanted that all to be done. We wanted the whole town to be upgraded as part of this commitment. Else, someone else should come in and do it under BEAD. How do we articulate this problem? Because it's not exactly the simplest thing to articulate here.
Oh.
Subsequent developments, Comcast's decision to reclassify, blah blah, which occurred after our letter of support was made, or our letter of support was based on the following assumptions in place at the time. Those assumptions have now changed to blah blah. Therefore, is there a way to express that?
Might be onto something.
Mm.
Well,
Because it's totally not fair to say, you said something 2 years ago and we changed some things, but you can't. That's not right.
But
I don't
what
know.
did they? But
What did they change?
The
Well,
location
tell
list.
me.
They changed the location list from 16 to 1,616.
right. But there was the challenge process, and those 16 that are now 4. I mean, MBI even went through. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So we just want the 12 back, right?
Yes, but we didn't say that in the letter. Like,
I
Well,
have a
the
copy of
letter was
and I
based
can-
on the list that existed at the time, and the list that existed at the time was 16.
But the letter also specified townwide implementation and a breakdown of pricing. And
Nope.
I don't see them
No.
saying about
No
that.
pricing,
No.
no pricing.
Well,
they
okay,
met, according to MBI and Comcast, they've met the criteria of the letter. So I don't. This is.
That's
this is-
I think it's a
This is a
stretch.
whole lot bigger
Well,
if we want to go down that path of all these
Right.
assumptions. There,
Right.
I don't think there's any foundation really to withdraw the letter.
Right.
As it, how do we argue that? How do we argue?
This is
Well-
like if you have a 13-year-old says, I want to drive the car. I said, well, you can't drive the car. The regs say you can't. And then 3 years later, or 4 years later in Massachusetts, the kid says, I want to drive the car. I said, we already discussed that. You can't drive the car.
Well, let me
The
just
rules
read
change
it.
over time.
Let me just read you the 3 bullet points that were in the letter to Mr. Gala from Mary Jane, dated March 5th, 2025. A comprehensive plan clearly outlining infrastructure, speed, tiers, pricing, and coverage areas. Commitment to a town-wide service upgrade for all locations, not just grant eligible ones. And then double star 1.8 gigahertz spectrum and DOCSIS 4.0 or better to ensure robust future-proof broadband. That was the letter from Mary Jane on March 5th of this year to Michael Gallo.
Right, but this letter is about withdrawing our letter of support. It has nothing to do with that letter. This is about withdrawing our letter of support that we originally sent in. And if
December
Comcast is
2023.
December
meeting,
2023, right.
if Comcast is meeting what those commitments, not that they're obligated to, again, wasn't the only reason why they received the grant money.
So we're
What
not
is the
entitled to rely
reason?
on it.
We can't withdraw that letter unless we have a legitimate reason, according to that letter, that we need to withdraw. We
So
can't
I
add
don't
things on. We
I don't
can't,
agree that the technology is equivalent or that there's a town-wide commitment here. So I think that's the first issue. You
They
know,
said it. They said it on the call.
they
committed
said
to
it
doing
on the call,
townwide.
they're going to be doing the entire town. They said it on the call, that
But-
we can't not say that they are not doing the entire town. They are doing the entire town. They said so on the call.
Do we have it in writing?
Well, I don't
No.
know. It doesn't matter. They said they were going to do it, and they're making that.
I don't
Well,
think it
they're
matters.
meeting
And
the
it's here. It's in
criteria.
writing right here on the letter we sent them.
then how do we articulate this? Because I regret working on the bead challenge if this goes forward.
Yeah, I think we're just gonna have to rack our brains here a little bit and try to
We,
come
we
up with language, but
I'm saying we could come up with language that says we strongly suggest that MBI insist on some kind of a timetable for townwide implementation.
Right, but
Without-
the problem,
without-
John, is that we didn't ask for that in the original
We didn't.
letter.
I know that,
Yeah.
and that's why I'm saying we suggest that they ask for it. Whether or not they can do it, I don't know. But at least
That's a separate, yeah, that's a separate conversation.
That's a
I agree
separate
with you on
conversation.
that, John.
Yeah.
I'm all
The
for
issue
the
of the
town
withdrawal
engaging
of the
with
letter of
Comcast.
support means that they violated the terms of the letter of support, period.
Yes.
And
And they haven't.
I agree, Anne Marie. You
They
know,
haven't.
Was the
So-
letter of
so-
support was the letter of support based on information available at the time and their offer at the time?
But it doesn't matter. That was the process. That was unfortunately, it's very unfortunate, but that was the
So-
process.
So maybe let's look at this from a different angle. What we don't agree with is MBI's decision to move the 1,600 locations from bead to gap.
So that's what, Brian, I think it's more about sending a letter to MBI, not withdrawing the Comcast letter, but sending a letter to MBI about what's best interest for Bourne and how we think they should proceed with that.
I think we can articulate that. And so maybe we have to do this is, we reviewed the proposal. We don't agree with MBI's decision to move the 1,600 locations. Open Cape stands ready to take them if you were to approach them. we had only expected our support to apply to 16 locations. It doesn't appear that Comcast is going to get to all 16 locations based upon their grant. And it's time to move on with the 1,600 locations and proceed to direct negotiations. We
Yeah,
maybe don't withdraw the support letter for liability and legal risk. We just note that that letter was for 16 and not 1,600. And, the discussion now is you can do whatever you want with the 16 locations, but you better move the 1,600 to somebody else.
yeah. Our previous letter of support was predicated on the understanding that, but
Yeah,
since
I guess. I mean,
since those conditions have changed,
but the town did give the go-ahead on the call to move those locations to the GAP grant.
Yes.
Yeah, given that MBI, at least the implication I got is MBI was in a position legally to do whatever they wanted with that. And they may be doing this with other towns too.
Mhm.
Just, hey, we don't want to put anything more out for bid, and for our convenience and for the convenience of the government, we're going to merge the programs together. And what I heard between the lines was, gee, there's nothing you can do about it.
So
And I
I
think
think
part of the issue too, sorry, Brian, I think part of the issue too is the nervousness of the funding, disappearing.
oh,
so I
there is
think you're
that.
By
both
the
you're
way,
both on to something with how to word this. I think instead of saying it as we don't like MBI moving the bead locations to gap, we don't like them moving the bead locations to gap and automatically awarding it to Comcast.
Well,
That should have been bid. That should have been
that
that should have been out for other people to bid on it if that was going to be the.
And and we can say that, but to Bob's point, and I'm sure
they'll say,
they'll
sorry, we're
yeah,
doing it. We're doing it for our convenience and to
yeah.
move this whole program statewide forward. Too bad. That's what they're
and
going
Yeah.
to say.
and they'll say that the town already agreed to it.
And we did.
Yeah.
So how do we fix this? Because this seems like a raw deal when we have, the opportunity to have a second fiber provider come in and, do one of the worst pockets of town.
Again, I think we are taking a risk if Comcast, if MBI suspends the Comcast grant process, and at the same time the feds decide to do something different, kind of akin to what's going on with the DEI. Those whose funding is further down the pike get their money. Anything in the future is paused statewide. That's my background fear. That's what's going on
So,
in like other states.
so Comcast is planning to make these upgrades eventually, regardless of funding. So it's kind of they're just moving Bourne up in the queue. So it's not like we won't get this upgrade that they're promising to do. It will happen eventually, with or without the funding. And so that's why the funding should go to some way that, causes this to be a better situation long term, which is
Brian,
probably competition.
is there any obligation in the NTIA rules for distribution of this funding to provide competitive service to areas, or just to get them above the underserved threshold?
It does. There's no nothing about that. So it's whoever bids on it and wants it can take it. So it will come down to cost and other factors. So it essentially gives well, that's not really worth discussing, but it could be
Well,
anybody. It's not really.
well,
There's no competitive clause of any kind. It doesn't
so
matter the scoring.
that's our desire, of course, is to have competition here and to have somebody else serve at places where Comcast is providing underserved or maybe minimally served service. But the whole regulation and law aren't intended to do that. So that may be our intent, but MBI isn't going to accept our request that they provide another provider there just because we want it.
Well, so as far as BEAD round one, the municipal support letter was a requirement.
Mhm.
Round two is a little more do whatever they want. And there is a requirement of in NTIA documents that MBI, whoever's handling the money is supposed to consider local governments, wants and needs. So there's a whole section about that, how they are supposed to consider us. So our opinions do matter. Local government opinions do matter as far as the allocation of money, and that is in the federal BEAD documents.
I would be astonished if there weren't something somewhere in the congressional or the legislative output that says you got to do competitive bidding.
The bidding says it's supposed to be competitive, which is a little, and I've had this conversation with a few people. We're not really sure by what mechanism MBI is able to do direct negotiation, but to argue it from their side of view, they have so few locations, it's easier to just directly do the last few. But yeah, there's supposed to be a bidding process per NTIA. And
We're
they did
never
it
going to
round
make
one.
it. Brian, I don't think we'll make any headway on trying to change MBI's modus operandi here,
Oh,
either with the state or the feds. I just don't see
yeah.
objecting to that. We can say we didn't like it, and they'll say, well, sorry, this is how we're operating. I'm looking at the time here, and I do not see that we can make any progress on this on rewriting this letter today. In fact, I've got to re-listen to all of the comments that everybody made. Brian, would you work with me, and we will try to redraft this letter? And what I'd like to do is call a focus meeting for next week just to consider this letter and nothing else. So we get this done. Again, we're not going to get on. I'm going to hopefully talk to Melissa beforehand and give her a heads up, and just to see what she thinks the feelings of the select board are going to be when this does hit their agenda, and frankly get an idea when that might be. But I don't see voting on rewording something as we sit here on the fly and getting it voted on and getting it in front of the select board is going to do anything other than get a first read, get questions back about people being confused, which I fully expect, and then finally getting it forward to the July agenda, perhaps. I'm very uncertain about us not being fully agreed on this before we send it forward.
Right.
Is that a plan? Is that okay,
I think
Brian?
that's good. I have to point out that I can't be here next Thursday. I have some medical tests in Hyannis on Thursday morning. The other thing I'd like to see is I have just been searching through my computer. I find that I have some original drafts, but not the actual letter of support that the select board sent. So if someone could email me a copy of that.
I'll
For some
find the
reason,
one that's stamped
yeah.
and
Yeah.
signed and send that
Yeah.
out.
Yeah,
Okay.
send it to everybody.
Anne Marie, you've got
Yeah.
your hand up.
Yeah, I just want to Brian's point. Maybe we need a different approach, Brian. Maybe we don't go through this process to try to get competition to the town. In general, how do we get competition with anything in town, with retail business, with businesses and attracting business in town? I mean,
Totally.
maybe we need to think about an entirely different approach. I don't know.
We got the monies, the locations are designated, the pots of money are there for now, but I don't see another program coming for probably 4 more years, at least, probably 5 to pass it. There's not going to be anything like this for 5 years.
But I think that the only, as Anne Marie is saying, and I agree that the thing that would really get this moving would be if Verizon and Open Cape expand their offerings to other parts of Bourne. should they do that, then everybody gets on their horse. As I saw happen where I used to live in Natick, where we had 3 providers that were all pretty good, and they were very competitive. I agree with her that maybe the regulatory route may not be the smartest way to go, particularly with the fact that we might risk losing funding here if we procrastinate too long on this issue. I mean, I'd rather see 1,400 houses get the service that they need, and at the same time make at least part of the promise. 200 would be 5 times faster than I have now. I'd like to have a gig upload speed, but 1 gig down and 200 up would be at least an improvement. It would be useful for residential customers. I'm not sure how many business customers would appreciate that, but at
Are
least
you are you
moving
even
our
in the
direction.
block that they're not? Are you even in the block they're upgrading?
I don't think so. I'm saying that if they talk about the fact that as they go and do this work, that then they will be able to offer the upgraded speeds to other customers. I'm not. I'm
I,
hoping that as they go down the street or whatever, say to Bob Street, which has somewhat poor service, that oh, okay, well, we're going down Burroughs Landing Road. Let's cut over and offer this to the folks off of County Road where I live.
I don't know if I've got the energy to fix this a 4th time. So this is, I think the 3rd chance to get fiber to the neighborhood that I've put together, maybe 4th. Like, I don't know if I have the energy to go for another round of this. Like, really, the opportunity is here to fix something and do a good job, and we're getting stuck on the wording.
Um, devil is in the details. I'm sorry, Brian. I will take an attempt to make a first pass at this, and I will probably consult with Wendy for English. And then again, I'm going to call a meeting for next Thursday, and we'll see where it goes. But again, in its current state,
Oh, sorry, I
I,
didn't mean the letter. I meant like, this would be the like 4th, I think, plan to obtain the money to get somebody to build fiber to this area. So, I could do another redraft, but trying again to uh, push this wet noodle up a hill to try to, fix this. This is just maddening. We need to figure out something we can all agree to is in the town's best interest and push forward with it. It's tough that this is so tricky to word.
and well, more to the point too, that's got a real hook in it, so that MBI has to pay attention. And that the select board agrees that this is a large enough deviation from what we expected under the original letter of intent, a letter of support, that this deviation, despite what was specified in that meeting we had a month ago, really needs to be fixed. And that's what the letter has to convey to the select board, and the select board has to convey that to MBI. And unless we can do that, I won't say there's no point in going forward, but we're just going to be voices crying in the wilderness, and they're just going to say, "Well, thank you very much, goodbye," and file a letter.
I think that's good. That's good wording, Bob. This is a large enough deviation from what we expected and what was represented to us originally.
Okay. Well, again, I'm going to start this. I'll start with Brian. Wendy, we may consult you for English. I don't want to violate any open meeting things, and then we'll have a draft a couple of days before the meeting next week.
Okay.
Okay. By the way, a quick note from I just noticed the chat from Jen. Fiber installation at the community center began on Tuesday, and she's going to keep us informed on the equipment upgrades relative to the BCTV equipment. So they are moving forward with this. Okay.
I have one quick question. I don't know what part of the agenda this goes to. Just ask Jed. Where does Bourne stand in relation to Falmouth in terms of service improvements? Because Comcast went out of their way to do a lot in Falmouth.
It's the
Well, we don't
same
know.
same tech that they're
Yeah,
rolling over
we
there.
don't know, right? It's the same technology, but we don't know where they stand relative. We don't know if anything's been done in Falmouth.
They've already reported the 2 gig 200 onto the FCC broadband map. So you can, if you scroll around with some work, you
All right,
can
well, all
figure
right.
out where they're deploying it.
Oh, there you go, John.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Okay, thank you for everybody's input on this. Again, the devil is in the details of the wording here. And we've got a lot to convey in order to get any action on this. And I'll puzzle over the recording of this later to figure out again what we should put in the wording and start this around with Brian and again with Wendy. And with that, and we're approaching 11 o'clock, I'm going to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Jed moves, John seconds. Okay. John,
Aye.
Jed,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Brian, and the chair, Bob, votes aye. Okay. Thank you very much. A very serious matter, and we've got a lot of work to do here still on the wording. Bye-bye.